Today's video sponsor is Good Chop. More on them coming up. This week we're going to be making meals that I love to repeat each week, but I just want to keep them on repeat. They're pretty easy. We always have things like meat stocked in the freezer, and so I can easily make these meals anytime I need to, and they're really delicious. So I love to have different things to kind of mix and match my meals. That's something I've been really into lately, is making a meal but then having something extra on the side, like whether it's a salad or a vegetable. You can kind of just add that to the meal and get more nutrients in there. So that's something I've been really into doing lately. So I'll leave some ideas for you down below too. You'll just kind of see how I put some meals together throughout the week. First meal we're gonna make, I have to make at least once a week because my family loves it, and so I don't have to think about whether anyone's gonna enjoy this meal. I already know they're going to eat it, so that's really handy to have in your toolbox. So the first thing I'm starting is my sweet potatoes, because I'm gonna be making a version of taco bowls, and sometimes I'll put them in tortillas, we love those, or I'll do them over a salad, but usually we like to have some carbs at dinner. So tonight, instead of putting it in taco shells, I'm actually going to put it over roasted sweet potatoes. And I'm going to show you the variation I like to do for these sweet potatoes to make them really good with taco meat. I start with my sweet potatoes that are already rinsed, and I scrub them clean and dry them really well. And then I cut them into about 1-inch cubes. I do them a little bit bigger so that after they roast down, they still have a good, nice texture and can kind of hold up against meat. I drizzle them with a really good amount of avocado oil because that's going to help us get it nice and crispy. And then I season it with garlic powder, onion powder, a little bit of pepper, not too much, and then chili powder. And that goes really well with taco meat. And my trick to get nice and crispy sweet potatoes is to hold off the salt until the end after they finish cooking. You sprinkle them right when they come out of the oven with lots of salt. But what I like to do, I'll roast them at 425 for about 25 minutes. Then I'll crank the oven up to 450 and just do 5 more minutes, and it gets them nice and crispy to where you can hear them on the sheet pan when they're done. You'll be able to see and hear how crispy they are. Now, really quickly, I'm going to put together my taco seasoning for my ground beef, and that is something I never buy anymore. I always make my own homemade taco seasoning because you'd be surprised what's hiding in the ones at the grocery store, and it's so easy to make yourself and it saves you money. So the first thing I'm adding is cumin. I do about 2 teaspoons, and I'll put the measurements in the description box. And then I do about 2 tablespoons of chili powder, but you can pull back on that if you don't want it to be too spicy. I did about a teaspoon of paprika, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, and then a little pinch of pepper, usually around half a teaspoon or so, sometimes a fourth, and then a teaspoon or 2 teaspoons of sea salt, depending on how much ground meat I'm using. And you can also add things like oregano, but my family doesn't really notice whether I add it or not, so I usually just leave it out and leave it simply like this, because I'm going to show you another trick to make really good taco meat in just a second. And see, that really was so easy, and the store-bought version would have had things like cornstarch, maltodextrin, vegetable oil, even like silicone dioxide, which is an anti-caking agent, and of course natural flavors to top it off, which is a whole nother topic because it can be just a proprietary blend of essential oils, but given the rest of the ingredients that go into these things, that's probably not what it would be in this case. I'm getting my skillet going over medium-high heat so I can brown some ground beef. I'm using 2 pounds of grass-fed ground beef. That's for my family of 6, and it usually gives us a little tiny bit of leftovers that I can repurpose the next day for lunch. So I'll brown my ground beef and make sure that I dump out any of the fat because we don't want it too greasy in the bottom of our pan. Then I'll add in that seasoning mix we made and just let those spices kind of toast up and absorb any extra fat in the pan because it's going to make it really flavorful and kind of coat the beef better. And then what I like to do is take our favorite salsa, which is Mateo's Mild, and I put around half a cup of that into our taco meat and stir it up, and it makes the perfect taco seasoning. It gives you that tomatoiness that you want. Just cook it for a second or two to heat it through, and that taco meat is good to go. And you could do the exact same thing with ground chicken or ground turkey, so whatever you want to do. whenever I have simple dinners, I love topping it with a dressing or some sort of element that makes it just more fresh. And I think it's something about it being wintertime that I'm just in denial about, and I want fresh food. So adding a little bit of pico or chunky salsa on top makes it amazing. And I had some cherry tomatoes in the fridge that needed to be used up. So I just did some chopped up cherry tomatoes, cilantro, which let me know if you like cilantro, because I'm trying to gauge whether or not people like that or not. I like it, but I'm kind of on the fence. I can go either way. And then lime juice and just sea salt. Stir it together, and it's just so fresh and bright and adds extra fiber and nutrients to your meal. So I love topping things with that. So now it's time to assemble these really easy taco bowls. We have the really crispy sweet potato chunks here, and you can just put some on the bottom of your bowl. I try to always have lettuce at dinner time because it just helps me feel extra full. And a little hack that I like to use is using avocado salsa. This is kind of like semi-homemade. I used to watch that show all the time on Food Network growing up. So everything else here is from scratch, but this has really good ingredients and I don't have to make it, but it just adds a little bit of extra delicious sauciness. And it's a mixture of like avocados and tomatillos, and it's so fresh. I use it actually instead of ranch when I'm dipping veggies. It's just a little bit lighter. So we love any variation of tacos or taco bowls, but make it healthier. I want to tell you about the meat and the seafood that I've been cooking this week because you can get it too. It's from Good Chop and they have the highest quality beef, chicken, and seafood. You can get things like grass-fed ribeyes, grass-fed steak, grass-fed ground beef. You can get USDA prime things if that's the kind of cut that you like, or they even have free-range organic chicken breasts, which I don't know about you, but that's been really hard to find where I am anyway. So the fact that I can order it and get it shipped to me is amazing. And then I also love their wild-caught salmon and wild-caught shrimp. I love salmon for the omegas, and then all the minerals that are in wild-caught shrimp is amazing, so you need to add that into your diet. So those are a few of my favorite cuts. Their box is fully customizable and they have like over 100 things you can choose from. So all the things that you would cook with, whether it's chicken wings or thick cut bacon. So you can definitely find plenty of options to build your box. I love that you can trust the quality that's coming from them, and you'll love it because there is a 100% money back guarantee. I know that when you're trying something new, you can be a little hesitant, but they are so sure that you're gonna love their product that their guarantee is 100%. I made the grass-fed ground beef today and it was so tender. That's one of my favorite cuts, along with the steak and salmon. So many of you messaged me about where can you find good quality meat and seafood, so I'm so excited to be able to share this with you. You can go to goodchop.com/YouTube, and then you're gonna enter the code HealthyElizabeth130 because they're giving you $130 off across your first 4 boxes. That's goodchop.com/YouTube and use code HealthyElizabeth130. Thank you, Good Chop, for sponsoring today's video. A default for me, and something I repeat every single week, is having a salad for lunch, but I love to switch up the kinds of salad, so I do all different kinds. So today I want to make a shredded chicken salad. So you could use a rotisserie chicken or a whole roasted chicken you've pulled, but I'm going to use chicken breast because it just makes it so easy. And I'm doing it in the Instant Pot. I put 2 chicken breasts in with a little bit of broth. I used one of my frozen ones, but you just need about 1/4 cup or so, and then a little pinch of salt. And you could do things like garlic powder too, but we're gonna add flavor coming up. So I let that pressure cook for 30 minutes. I let it naturally release for about 19 until I was ready to get to it. Now I'm gonna put it in a bowl and use forks or my tongs and shred that chicken and make sure it's nice and all pulled apart. I love the salad because it's so different than what I would typically make. It's just got different flavors going on, a different kind of dressing. It's really good. What I like to do is take a whole Napa cabbage. I like this cabbage because it's softer. It's actually easier to chew, so I appreciate that. Thinly chop that up and just make it nice and fine. You could chop it the other way too and make it like a chopped salad. Then I'm just gonna grate 1 carrot on a box grater, so we have shredded carrot. I always prefer to shred my own versus buying the matchstick ones at the store because they're usually more dried out and I like them to be a little bit softer. Then I'm gonna take 1 red bell pepper and just thinly slice that too, because we want everything here to kind of be in the same shape so it goes together almost like a slaw. I love salads like this. Another one of my favorites is like kale and quinoa salad, but I put roasted chicken in it. So it's just a full meal, and it's really easy to have this already prepped in the fridge. So that way when I'm busy during the day and it's lunchtime, I can really just pull it out and it's already ready to go. And this one is so easy to make because you can pressure cook that chicken and have it done and in the fridge already cold. And then even if you had to make this at lunch, it still goes so fast. You can make this salad in 5 minutes. So I put all the ingredients in a bowl, and now I'm making the kind of Vietnamese style sauce dressing, and I'm doing rice vinegar, fish sauce, which is so interesting to me. I've never done that in a salad dressing, but it's so good. And then lime juice, some sesame oil. I do just a tiny bit of coconut sugar to balance everything out. You can also do some minced or grated ginger, and then just salt and pepper. And then you can add the chicken straight in here with it, or you can leave it on the side. And I left mine on the side today, and it's actually kind of like a little hack for me, because if I have chicken that's already prepped like that, I can keep some. That way I can eat it in a different meal, or I can give it to my kids. And then I have kind of like a meal prep going too, but I can put it in my salad. You mix it all together, and it is just a delicious, healthy, quick lunch that's just fresh and bright, but you still have that protein. Okay, this next thing I'm so excited about because it's kind of going to be a copycat, I hope, of this sprouted trail mix that I absolutely adore. It is one that I get from Sprouts, and it's actually a paleo one. It's sweet and salty, but I love it because it doesn't taste like coconut oil. There's actually no oil in it whatsoever. It's just sprouted almonds, sprouted cashews, sprouted pumpkin seeds, maple syrup, raisins, chocolate chips, cherries, coconut, vanilla, and sea salt. And I'm basically going to do the exact same thing here at home. So I'm going to show you my ingredients that I'm using, but I am missing one of the ingredients here because I need some little dried coconut flakes. Those were coming in the mail because I had to order them off Amazon. I couldn't find them at my local store, and I didn't have time to go to Sprouts, so they'll be here later today. But this is everything that I'm using. I'm also going to grab a few of these dried cherries. And you could substitute that if you want, but dried cherries are seriously so amazing. So I'm going to use those along with some organic raisins. And then if you can't find pumpkin seeds alone, I always have this in my house, and it's a mixture of pumpkin and sunflower. So I'm going to use that today. And ideally you want no salt, but I only have the ones with salt, but I'm going to pull back on the salt in the recipe because some of the stuff I have is salted like that. So if you can't find that, no big deal. They'll still be good at it. And then I have some raw almonds. You're just going to want regular raw almonds. I couldn't find sprouted, so that's okay. And then maple syrup. I have some chocolate chips. I love these. They're dark chocolate, but they're made with coconut sugar, so those are really good. They're dairy free. And then just some unsalted cashews. And I wanted them unroasted too, but they didn't have that, so I'm just going to do it with this, and that should be fine. So let me show you how to put this all together. Okay, I'm starting by putting one of my ceramic pans over medium-high heat, and we're going to heat up the wet ingredients, and then we'll toss it with the dry. Okay, I'm starting with my maple syrup. This is why I love these little mini spatulas, because I feel like I'm always trying to scrape something out that a wooden spoon can't get. So I love these just for scraping out ingredients, especially sticky ones. Okay, I'm doing some vanilla. You can add this before or after you heat up the maple syrup, but I'm gonna go ahead and let it just kind of cook off the alcohol a little bit. I don't mind that. And just a pinch of salt, because my nuts I'm using are unsalted. But if you can only find nuts that are lightly salted, then you can definitely just leave all the salt out. Okay, so we're gonna let this cook over medium-high heat for about 3 to 5 minutes until it's nice and heated and extra syrupy. We're gonna start by adding about a cup of whole raw almonds. And you could chop them up a little bit if you want them to be a little bit easier to eat, but I do like them whole because it adds such good crunch. And then for the cashews, I'm using cashew halves and pieces. So I'm going to add those in, and then I'm also going to sprinkle in some of our pumpkin seeds / sunflower seeds and stir that all up. And this is the portion that we're going to put the maple syrup mixture over and bake. And then the rest of the stuff are kind of like the add-ins, the mix-ins, and they don't get baked. Once that maple syrup is boiled for about 5 minutes and it's starting to really thicken up, I'm going to preheat my oven to 275. We want this nice and low. We're going to do it low and slow for about 20 minutes, maybe give or take a few. So you can see it's thickened up almost like a caramel. And I'm going to pour that over the nut mix we made, stir that up, and then get that on a parchment lined baking sheet to cook low and slow in the oven. You just want to use the back of your wooden spoon or a spatula and spread this mixture out really evenly across the parchment sheet here. So that way everything can get nicely toasted and it's all toasted evenly. And it also makes it so much easier to get this off of your pan if you line it with parchment. So if you have some of that, I love using unbleached just because it's a little bit healthier, and you can buy them in bulk on Amazon. So I'll link it below. I always have these in my house. They're one of my go-to necessities. So just pop that in the oven, and we're going to check on these in about 15 minutes to make sure that it's not browning too quickly, or else I'll pull it out of the oven. Now I'm going to go ahead and make some of the mix-ins here, and I'm doing a mixture of raisins and dried cherries, and then technically coconut flakes, but they're not here yet, so we'll pretend that's already in here. But then I'm going to add the chocolate chips later after the mixture is cooled, so we're going to keep those separate in a measuring cup. Now that mixture just came out of the oven and it's still nice and hot, and that's key. You want to sprinkle over the raisins and the cherries and coconut when that's still hot. That way the maple syrup kind of helps it stick in there, but then leave it alone to let it cool completely so you get nice clusters of delicious crunchy sweet nuts. So once those raisins or cherries are all in there, I like to sprinkle over extra sea salt on the top. I love the mixture of sweet and salty, even in things like trail mix or granola. So I'm going to sprinkle that over, and then after the whole thing has cooled completely, that's when you sprinkle over the chocolate chips, and you can mix everything together because we don't want the chocolate chips to melt. This recipe is seriously so easy, and I love how nutrient-dense it is with all the nuts. It's perfect for topping your morning yogurt, or just having a delicious bowl of it with a little bit of milk too is a great little trick to avoid those processed cereals. I hope this video gives you some good inspiration for the week, and thank you again for joining me in the kitchen.